This war could crash the global economy, and most people don't see it coming. Not because of bombs, not because of politics, but because of something far more powerful: the global financial system. Across the world, tensions are rising, oil markets are reacting, investors are panicking, and supply chains are under pressure. But here's what almost no one is talking about. This isn't just a geopolitical conflict. It could trigger a chain reaction that leads to a global recession. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how it happens. But how can a war in one region crash the entire global economy? How does conflict turn into financial collapse? And more importantly, are we already seeing the early signs? To understand this, we need to start with one simple truth. The global economy is deeply interconnected. No country operates in isolation anymore. Everything is connected through trade, energy, and finance. At the center of this story is one critical resource. Oil. Oil is not just fuel. It powers transportation, it drives industries, and it controls inflation. Now here's where it gets dangerous. A large portion of the world's oil supply flows through one narrow passage, the Strait of Hormuz. If that route is disrupted, even slightly, global oil supply drops, prices spike, and everything becomes more expensive. When oil prices rise, inflation follows. And inflation is one of the most dangerous forces in an economy. Why? Because it forces central banks to react. To fight inflation, they raise interest rates, and higher interest rates do something critical. They slow down the economy. Businesses borrow less. Consumers spend less. Growth slows down. This is how a war turns into an economic problem. But here's where things become even more fragile. The world is sitting on over $300 trillion in debt. Governments owe it. Companies depend on it. And individuals are drowning in it. When interest rates rise, debt becomes more expensive to service. Suddenly, countries struggle to repay loans. Companies face bankruptcy risks. Consumers cut spending. This is where cracks begin to form. Now imagine investors watching all of this unfold. War tensions rising, oil prices increasing, interest rates staying high. What do? They pull money out. Stock markets fall. Currencies weaken. Capital flows out of vulnerable economies. This is especially dangerous for emerging markets. Countries that rely on foreign investment suddenly face capital flight, currency collapse, economic instability. But the impact doesn't stop there. War also disrupts supply chains. Shipping routes become unsafe. Costs increase. Delays become common. And when supply chains break, prices rise even further. This creates a vicious cycle. Inflation rises, growth falls, and economies weaken. But here's the part most people don't expect. The real danger isn't the war itself. It's the reaction to it. Central banks are already in a difficult position. Inflation is still high. Growth is already slowing. Now add a war-driven oil shock, and they face a dilemma. Do they raise rates to fight inflation, or cut rates to support growth? Either choice has consequences. Raise rates, and you risk triggering a debt crisis. Cut rates, and inflation could spiral out of control. This is what economists call a no-win scenario, and this is exactly the kind of environment where recessions are born. So what happens next? If tensions continue, here's the likely chain reaction. Oil prices remain elevated. Inflation stays high. Interest rates remain restrictive. Debt pressure increases. Businesses slow down. Unemployment rises. And eventually, the global economy contracts. But not all countries will be affected equally. Emerging economies will likely face the biggest risks because they depend heavily on foreign capital, stable currencies, affordable debt. When those disappear, economic stress rises quickly. But here's something important to understand. Every crisis also creates opportunity. Markets reset. New industries emerge. Wealth shifts. Those who understand the system position themselves early. Because while most people panic, a few people prepare. And that makes all the difference. This war is not just about geopolitics. It's about economics. It's about how fragile the global system really is, and how quickly things can change. The question is no longer if there will be economic consequences. The real question is how big they will be, and whether you'll be ready when they arrive. If you want to understand the forces shaping the global economy, subscribe to Atlas Economics, because the world is changing, and those who understand it will always stay ahead.